Your daily life is run by subconscious programming, which controls what you think, what you do, and how you perceive the world. And what most people don't realize is that when it comes to finances, we are playing against a rigged system, and we have been conditioned by the schooling system to stay poor. Formal education does not include any depth of financial literacy training, no trace of budgeting, of taxes, of investments, of the mechanics of starting and running a business, and none of that. So the majority of us don't know how to go into the financial world as anything other than paycheck to paycheck workers. After spending 9 years in investment banking, I'm going to share with you some of the most important money lessons school failed to teach us and how you can break out of the cycle. Number 1, the money equation. When we observe self-made billionaires like Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, we find a common thread that ties their success stories together. In stark contrast to what we've been taught growing up, these people have shown us that money isn't just a simple equation of salary earned from a job. It's so easy to fall into the trap of thinking that the amount of money we earn is directly tied to the amount of time we work. But through my own journey and having now seen a completely different side of the money equation, I've realized how limiting and misleading this belief can be. For instance, say you earn $20 an hour and you work 40 hours a week. It would take you nearly 25 years to reach a total of $1 million. But that isn't without you even subtracting any taxes or any expenses over the 25 years, nor does it account for inflation. So really, you'd be left with far less. And on a salary of $20 an hour, you can only become a millionaire through a combination of working very hard and being frugal your entire life. What sets millionaires and especially billionaires apart is their fundamentally different understanding of money. They've understood and applied the power of a different money equation that isn't taught in schools or even in most households. They know that wealth creation is less about exchanging time for money and more about leveraging assets, investing wisely, and creating systems that generate income for them even when they're not working. Understanding this is the first step in breaking out of the conventional system. Don't believe that the only way you can make money is by trading your time for it. Number 2, the timing of investing. During your lifetime, you're likely going to see 3 to 5 major economic downturns, and these periods may seem scary, and you probably think of it as a time to cut back and really save. But these periods also often present the most significant opportunities to build wealth. Whilst there are so many people worrying and holding tightly onto their savings during this time, the rich are quickly deploying their money into investments. They're buying stocks, they're picking up real estate, they're essentially betting on a brighter future. And so when the market does eventually bounce back and it recovers, like it has done historically, these investors ride that wave of recovery back up, ending up even richer than they were before. On the other hand, those that stick to just saving during these times will find life more expensive as inflation takes its toll. And when the market recovers, these people miss out on the gains because they weren't invested to begin with. You want to get yourself into the habit of regularly, consistently investing, start learning about the different investment avenues, take informed risks, and be consistent. Doing so can be the difference between achieving financial security in the next 5 years or continuously playing catch up. The power of investing over just saving is such an important lesson in personal finance that can completely redefine your financial future. This is me just starting off on all the finance stuff that hasn't been taught to us, and I'm going into more detail in my 5-day money bootcamp that is coming up, and it is completely free. We will talk about all of this, money psychology, and how companies use strategies against us, investing, the stock market, pay rises. It's going to be good. So if you want to join the rest of us, you can sign up using the link below. And if you're watching this and the link isn't there, it means it's come and gone. Number 3, understanding leverage. For many of us, debt is seen as a burden, but for the rich, the same concept of debt is referred to as leverage. And this distinction is not just semantic, it represents 2 entirely different ways of thinking about and using borrowed money. Mark Zuckerberg, despite his immense wealth, took out a $6 million mortgage to buy his home in California. Beyonce and Jay-Z, they financed their $88 million house with a $52 million mortgage. Elon Musk took out a $50 million loan against his 5 properties in California. If debt is so bad, why are these multimillionaires who have the money to pay for these things outright taking more and more of it? The key difference is how the money is used. Is it being used to create more money, or is that debt being used to drain your money? For the majority of people, debt comes in the form of consumer loans used for purchases that don't make any money, like a new TV or a holiday. Whereas on the other side, the rich often use leverage to make more money. They use it to buy assets that appreciate over time, like real estate or business ventures. And a mortgage is amongst some of the cheapest debt you can get. And so these multimillionaires use borrowed money to buy their homes, which means they can use their money on other things and on other assets that have higher returns, essentially turning debt into an asset. You want to understand the difference between debt and leverage and how you can use it for you instead of against you. Number 4, avoid social proof. There is a whole phenomenon around keeping up with the Joneses, and it's defined as the social pressure to match or surpass one's neighbors in material possessions and social status. And the concept goes beyond just comparisons with your neighbor. It is ingrained in today's society, influenced by friends, by celebrities, by social media trends, and in today's digital age, where our lives are completely and constantly on display, this pressure is more than ever. We often measure our self-worth by the number of likes or comments our posts receive, by what we wear, and this can lead to us making financial decisions based on the desire for social validation rather than for practicality. And buying expensive things or luxury items isn't bad. The problem is when these purchases are driven by the desire to appear wealthy rather than reflecting actual financial health. And it's better to live within your means and make financial decisions based on personal needs rather than long-term financial goals and succumbing to the pressure of keeping up with the Joneses. This lesson, although very rarely taught in school, is pivotal in maintaining financial sanity in a world that prioritizes appearance over substance. Number 5, understanding tax. This is an important but completely neglected part of our education system, and there are so many ways to legally reduce your tax bill that people just don't know about or want to educate themselves on. In the world of the rich, knowing the intricacies of tax laws and capitalizing on legal loopholes is common practice. But it's not just for the ultra rich or business owners of the world. As an employee, you can also increase your non-taxable income sources through, for example, retirement contributions. It's about understanding the system and making it work to your advantage. I've got a specific video on which I will link here up somewhere if you want to understand how it can apply to you. But that's just me touching the surface. Tax laws can be complex, but understanding the basics and how they apply to you can save you thousands in the long run. Lesson 6, focusing on production. In my video on habits keeping you in the rat race, I talk about how your net worth can be calculated by the difference between your production and your consumption. Money will come into your life because you've performed some sort of value, which is the production side of it, and money will leave your life through consumption, through you spending money. A lot of people in the personal finance space focus purely on the consumption side of the equation, and I wish more people spoke about and put an emphasis on the production side of the equation. But I also know why they don't. Because it's easier to reduce your expenses through the amount you consume than it is to increase your production value and increase your income. And when you're talking to a mass audience, you know that the consumption part will resonate with more people. There's nothing wrong with this strategy, and it works for a lot of people on different levels of income. But let's be honest, if you look at the same people that are giving the advice, take Dave Ramsey, for example, whilst his advice is often centered around savings and living debt-free, his success lies in the production side of the equation. He's making money through giving guidance on the consumption part. And as much as it is helpful to listen to these words, you also want to pay attention to their actions. His estimated net worth of $200 million didn't come from focusing on the consumption side of the equation. Producing is about providing relative value in a market in some way, shape, or form. And this doesn't have to come from a day job or starting a business. It can even come through something like a YouTube channel. And that's one of the things that I've done to create value on a mass scale whilst getting paid for it and increasing my production value at the same time. Your form of production may be creating a digital product or creating a course on something you have extensive knowledge about, or developing an app or a software that the market will pay money for. If you can produce value at a large scale, it means earning money at a large scale. So you want to avoid thinking that there's only one route to increase your income. I hope you enjoyed this video and it sparked something in you to think expansively and do something that maybe you've been putting off for a while. If there's anything else that you found that school hasn't taught us and you wish you learned it sooner, then let me know. I'd love to read that. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next week.